Welcome back to the Weekend Report. I'm Masechaba Kumalo. The past couple of weeks have been traumatic for residents of the Eastern Cape. A spate of violence and brutal mass killings have left communities in absolute fear, and these crimes have also had an impact on children. Just a few days ago, 5 matriculants were raped while 2 women were murdered. All this while the community of Lusikisiki is still living in fear after last month's mass shooting that killed 18 people. Yet another attack followed where 6 community patrollers were killed in Biki. Communities are asking for some sort of visible intervention, such as the deployment of mounted unit members. But is this intervention guaranteed to produce favorable results? This morning, we'll talk about the necessary interventions needed for child protection and to boost community policing in the province. We're now joined by forensic and crime expert Calvin Rafadi, and we'll also be joined shortly by Director of the Khula Development Project, Petros Majola. Thank you so much for your time, and a very good morning, Calvin. Not a very good morning at all. I mean, to what do you say about the rampant or increased levels of violence in the Eastern Cape? I mean, for instance, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs MEC Xolile Williams recently indicated that the scourge of violence in the EC has reached levels that have never before been seen. Is this true, or are we just profiling the crimes more?
Yeah, once more, good morning, Ms. Chaba, and then to your viewers. Still, we say condolences to the family. Look, we cannot apply the same method over and over again and expect good results. We tried policing the area. It is a serious crime scene hotspot. So we need to apply certain tactics to root out the guns. There are so many guns in that community to a point that that's why we were saying let's call on a state of emergency. Now, with the state of emergency, we go on the ground. We flush out this particular firearms. Poker Act gets kicked in by the subs so that they can, profile certain individuals and then, take them to prison. Now, here's another thing. I hear they're calling on mounted policing. It's a good move, but remember, those are not trained to fight on a high crime level. So we've got a medium and a high crime level whereby you need TRT, you need NIU, you need public order policing. They are trained to go and fight, those criminals, even when they are hiding in the bushes. But with mounted police, it is good to guard the livestock, and we've seen also the opening of parliament. Those are the same police that you see or patrolling the borders or even some of the beaches. That you need those type of policing. But to deal decisively with this particular crime is that we deploy military as an extended force multiplier together with subs so that they can get the guns out of those streets.
We're now joined by Petros Majola, now the Director of Khula Community Development Project, who joins us virtually. Good morning, Petros. First and foremost, I mean, in the instance of children being raped in the Eastern Cape, I mean, these children should be enjoying their childhood, they should be pursuing their education in a safe environment, but now their lives have been incredibly impacted through the violence. I mean, what has been the impact of this violence on children as you've witnessed firsthand?
Good morning to you and to the viewers and the other guests that we have on here. It really causes a lot of panic because we are not in a stage to know what will be happening the next day or the next minute, where we would perhaps ask the government to deploy more police, more law enforcement, more soldiers, you name it. But seemingly every day we wake up and get the incident of a child who has been sexually abused, who has been raped, who has been murdered. Recently, as you understand that in Umtata we have lost kids who are still in the school-going age. Another one was due to start sitting for the final examination of grade 12, but unfortunately she was shot and killed, while the other one could not start at the starting time because she was still in hospital in a very critical condition, that she was also shot with a bullet. So to me, we are in a deep trouble. I once said the province itself is under a dark cloud. But our focus should be more on men, because the perpetrators in all these incidents are male persons and not the children themselves and not the mothers, as much as I understand that mothers at some point could commit crime. But for now, we are in a very, very tough time where we don't only need prayers and imbisos, but we need to reorganize ourselves and face the enemy.
Now, as a forensic and crime expert, you would absolutely understand the profile of the criminals who are meting out all of these activities and murders, etc. What is it about the profile of the criminal, the average criminal who is based in the Eastern Cape? Is it the background? To what would you attribute all of this violence?
Yeah, look, there's abuse of alcohol, drugs, and then there's issues of accusing one another in terms of muty stuff, and then there's livestock theft, you name it. But remember, we are sitting with a problem where even today, with the Lusikisiki or some of those incidents, we yet still don't know what is the motive. We welcome the arrest and, you know, the police acting on the aftermath of those crimes. And again, you know, crime intelligence, like we always say, is gone missing. Now, Eastern Cape doesn't even have, as we speak, the head of intelligence, and it affects the morale of even the officials. They need, Ministry of Police needs to appoint a permanent head of crime intelligence so that they can start profiling these criminals and rooting them out of the streets. Because of, if you have acting bosses in that portfolio, it affects the morale and the performance of crime intelligence. But just to answer you, we are dealing with very heartless criminals, most of them under the influence of drugs, most of them even under the influence of alcohol. Unemployment is not an excuse. We are all, you know, at a level where we can't even afford to buy bread daily. So that is not an excuse, but we need to deal decisively with these criminals and flush out the guns in that area. And I thought, you know, our honorable leaders like Bantu Olomisa, Gwede Mantashe, they come from the same area. They need to have a weight. They are in a position of influence. Let them also help us to assess this type of challenges that we are dealing with.
Now, some of the guns that have been found on these criminals are not guns that are easily accessible. Where are these guns coming from?
Look, automatic rifles are prohibited in our country, like your AK-47. If it's automatic, it's prohibited. So they come all the way from the SADC region, and they are brought by some ex-militant. So as much as sometimes we say, no, they used to be legal in our country, we do note that. But most of these automatic rifles, they originate from the SADC region, let alone the homemade guns, by the way. There are homemade guns that we've seen in Western Cape that are manufactured by criminals. But we need to go out there and flush them out of the communities.
All right. Speaking of communities, Petros, what type of interventions are you taking as the Khula Community Development Project?
As much as we do hold the imbitos and the going to schools, talking about drug abuse, talking about substance, but I like the point that is raised by the chairman to say our crime intelligence is very, very, very weak, and I must say that it's dysfunctional, because some of these things would not be happening in a country where there is very strong intelligence. But now they only wake up very, very late. They never wake up before these incidents take place. So we do go to communities, but I must say that we need the community safety ministry or department to encourage those crime fighters or those structures that are community-based to perhaps give them a kind of incentive. I know that in Umbu, they murdered the CPF members, but that doesn't stop the minister or the MEC of community safety from saying, guys, how best can we organize you so that you get the incentives? Then you're also encouraged so that you patrol overnight, you patrol on weekends. Like it happened in Dumtata, I suggested that each and every place where there are students or learners, that community should be patrolling at night so that those kids can sleep in peace, knowing that there are men who are patrolling, men and women who are guarding us outside. But if we all sleep, then the intruders will just walk in, rape our children, and kill them.
True, but now the patrollers are being killed. In conclusion, Tate, what is your ultimate interventive plan or strategy that should be implemented in the Eastern Cape?
State of emergency. We go out there with a force multiplier being SANDF. We do search and seizures, stop and search. We search even in the mountains, in the rivers, because AK-47, you can hide it in the river, and these criminals, they hide them there. We search even churches, traditional leaders' homes, and every other ordinary home. The reason also being, communities are scared. They fear to talk. As much as they are equally blamed that you know who's doing this particular crime, but they fear for their life, and we understand and we know it. Because the guns are out there, they are also targeted, being the victims. Now, another thing that we need to call on the communities everywhere else in South Africa is that we condemn mob justice and vigilantism. And what is also disturbing in those type of acts, we've seen that mothers who are still breastfeeding, in the midst of those acts, you find them with small babies. Anything that can trigger stampede will have many fatalities. So it is uncalled for. We condemn situations of mob justice and vigilantism, and let the government, the GNU, let's call for state of emergency, flush out the firearms.
Fantastic. Gentlemen, thank you both so much for your time. All right. Okay, so that concludes our conversation, and that was Calvin Rafadi in studio. He's a forensic and crime expert, as well as Petros Majola, director of Khula Community Development Project.